Aloha students! This recording is to help you with the multi-digit multiplication that we've been working on, and I want to show you the different methods that we've worked in class. Now when you go to take your Accelerate Ed quizzes and module exam, it might ask you questions about how to come up with your answer, so I definitely want you to know all of these. When it comes to your own questions and worksheets that you're doing, or if you're out about at the grocery store and you have to do multiplication, of course I want you to use whichever method you like the best, but I definitely want to make sure that you understand the ones that we've been talking about. So I have a problem, 27 times 18. I want to show you a couple different ways that we can approach this multiplication problem. So the first way that we've been learning is to line it up linear, 27 times 18, and I would multiply 8 by 7, 8 by 20, and then 10 by 7 and 10 by 20. So I want to show you how we're going to do that. So 8 times 7. What is 8 times 7? 56. Hopefully you got 56. So I have 8 times 7 equals 56. Now I've done 8 times 7, I'm going to go ahead and do 8 times 20. Instead of doing 8 times 20 in my head, I do 8 times 2, and then I annex the 0 after. And I'm using the word annex because we learned about it a little bit in social studies. Annex means that we're going to take over. So if we're going to gain control or take over something, we're going to take that 0 and we're going to put it with our answer. I don't want to say add the 0 because that sounds like I'm going to add 0 to my answer, which would be, it wouldn't change it because 0 has no value. Okay, so we did 8 times 7, we got 56. 8 times 2 is 16, and then I annex the 0, so it would be 160. So I make sure that I line up my place values, because when I go to add it, I want to make sure that my 1s are all together, my 10s are all together, my 100s are all together. So I've just done 8 times 7, which is 56, and 8 times 2, which is 160. I'm all done with my 8, so I'm going to go ahead and cross it out so I don't get confused with it anymore. So now this 1 represents 10 because it's in the 10 spots. So it's in the 10 spots, so 10 times 7, 70. 10 times 20. So here, multiply 1 times 2, and then you're going to annex 2 zeros really to get your answer. So what is your answer? 200. Okay, I've done 10 times 7, which equals 70, and 10 times 20, which equals 200. I'm done. So now I'm going to add all of these pre-products, you know, the smaller products to get my big answer. So 6 times 0 is 6. 5 times 6 times 7. So I'm going to do 5 times 6, which is 11. 11 plus 7 is 18. So I put my 8 here, and then I regroup my 1 to the hundreds place. 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 plus 2 is 4. And I always want to circle my answer when I'm done. And I can think, was this a reasonable answer? I can do that by rounding these numbers and thinking, 30 times 20, 3 times 2 is 6, and then I annex these 2 zeros over here, and I get 600, and that's pretty close. I'm not too far off. Okay, I want to go ahead and show you another way to do this problem. Okay guys, we're going to look at another way to multiply 27 by 18. So we just finished doing this method where we list our different products and then we add them all together. I'm going to show you another method which is kind of a shortcut, and it's more, you have to really focus on regrouping. You get the same answer, but I'm going to show you that just in case you wanted to do that strategy. So I have 27 times 18. So here's how I start. Just like the other one, I start in the ones position, 8 times 7. 8 times 7 is 56, so I put my 6 here in the ones position, and I go ahead and I put my 5 up here in the tens. Okay, I've just done 8 times 7 equals 56. Now, 8 times 20. I can think of this problem as 8 times 2 and annex a 0 after. 8 times 2 is 16. 16 plus 5 is 21. I had to think about that. So I've annexed my 0 because I have a 6 in the ones position. So after we've finished multiplying the 8, I'm going to go ahead and cross it out because we're done with it and I don't want it to confuse us. I'm also going to cross out the 5 because I've already added that in. So now this one actually represents 10 and not 1 because it's in the tens place. So 10, before I multiply 10 times 7, I'm going to go ahead and just put my 0 here anyway because I know that this is a 10. So 1 times 7 is 7, but really it's 70 because this is a 10. And 1 times 2 is 2, but really 1 times 2 is 200. I have 2 place values here and here, so I'm done. Just have to add it up. And I have the same answer I got before. So here's the third way that we learned how to do it, and it's called area model, and this is very similar to Singapore math. I think that this way is really good for students that are more visual learners because they're able to organize and visualize what is happening just in a different way. So I'm going to break down the tens and the ones on 27. So I'm going to draw my box here. And I'm going to break down the tens to 20 and the ones to 7. And I'm going to divide them out. And then I'm going to break down the tens and the ones here on the 18. So I'm going to have 10 and 8. So I broke down 27 to 20 and 7. And I always go to the left side first just to be organized. And on the 18 to 10 and 8. And then I go up top. Okay? So now I'm going to multiply across. I start horizontal and then I go vertical. So horizontal, vertical, horizontal, vertical. I'm only multiplying the numbers that are outside my box. I'm not going to multiply the numbers inside because then I'm going to get the wrong answer. So 20 times 10, you can think of this problem as 2 times 1 and then annex the zeros. 2 times 1 is 2 and you annex the 2 zeros. And 20 times 8, 2 times 8 is 16. And then you annex the 0. 10 times 7, 1 times 7 is 7, and you annex the 0. 7 times 8 is 56. Now, if you notice, the numbers in my box are the same numbers that I got up here. Okay. So now, the last thing I have to do is add them together. I can do some of this mentally. 200 plus 160 is 360. 70 plus 50. Can you do it mentally? 126. Okay, and now I'm going to add them up. 8, 486. And voila! I have 486 as my answer for all 3 different ways that I did this. Now before I go, I wanted to show you how you can do the area model when you have 2-digit times 1-digit. Okay, so for this one, mentally in my head, the way I do this is I do 10 times 4 and 4 times 7. So I would just do 10 times 4, 40, and 7 times 4, 28, add it together, 68. Now, if that's complicated for you and you wanted to do the area model, you would just pull apart the 10 and the 7 up here, 10 and 7, and then put your 4 here. 10 times 4 is 40. 10 times 7 is 28. When I add those together, I get 68 as my answer. Okay? So these are different ways that I want you guys to be aware of for multiplication strategies. If you have another way, because there's definitely more than these ways out there, you can use that too. And don't forget that you can always round it to see if your answer is reasonable. Now, if I got the answer 3,860, I know that that's not reasonable to 600. So I hope you guys will be using these strategies over Christmas break. You can definitely email me if you have any questions. It might take a couple days for me to respond, but I will be checking my email regularly. Have a great Christmas.